Welcome once again to this week State of the Nation from Bishop David Munyiri Thagana YouTube channel. Last week and the other week, we addressed the issue of hope for Kenya, and we expressed the optimism that the Kenyan people seem to be having, resulting from the political situation, the conversations that have been going on for the bipartisan talk, reviving those that failed, and bringing in a third party to come in and reunite the people. Well, that conversation continues, and there seems to be hard lines taken by both parties, and the whole week the conversation continues. But I think the major conversation that we need to be asking ourselves is, do we really need a third party to come and reconcile the two warring parties or conflicting parties? Does the government, the Kenya Kwanza, and the Azimio opposition, do they really need President Obasanjo or from any party from outside to really come and bring them together? Because the conversations that they're having are the same ones that we have always had during the other previous talks. And it looks like the same approach, the hard line for each party is still the pattern. And so this seems like it's something that can go on forever and ever. And it is time that we really got a permanent solution for our political stalemates, because it looks like after every election, we are likely to be having we are likely to be having someone refusing to accept the results, resorting to conflict, and then bringing in a third party from outside the country or from within. So the permanent solution to this may be we just change the constitution and decide that we are going to incorporate talks after every election. Apparently, it will be like rendering the electorate useless in terms of whom they vote for, because unless it is clearly entrenched in the constitution that that whoever fails, that there will be these talks and they will try to form a coalition government or handshake or whatever they call it, because this now seems to be the pattern. Some people think that this will continue as long as the opposition leader Laila is there. So some think that this is more of a personality issue about the leader of the opposition, and that over time, probably when he will not be interested, we may not have that scenario. So they think it may not be necessary to entrench that into the constitution. But even during the time when we were having all the conversations about the building the bridges, international, the BBI, whatever conversations, the main question was the whole thing of the winner takes it all. You campaign, you have a huge following, but then you lose. Whether you lose by 1 or 2 votes, you are still the loser. So that question still kept coming up. So I think it is important then that we address the question of what happens to the loser and define the margins that can necessitate a conversation, because it doesn't paint a good picture to be always bringing in a third party to reconcile us after every election. And the most warring part is that we bring in a third party when damage has already happened. People have died, business has stopped, people have hated each other, damage has been done. Sometimes it's so hard to control some of the damage is done. But in addition to that conversation that has continued of having the talks between the government and the opposition, there has been a major debate and concern this week about the university education. And this is a subject that has really brought a lot of concerns to many of us who are leaders, whether church leaders or political leaders or government leaders or even parents. The question of the university education has brought a lot of concern. It seems like when a child completes, let me call them a child or a youth, completes the high school education, somehow we are wired to think that they must go to the university because of the white-collar jobs that the British colony brought us, this curriculum that prepares people for white-collar jobs. You go to the bank, you become that clerk, you become that professional, and therefore that is synonymous with going to the university. And so over time, those who have not made it to the university have been thought to be a failure. And the result has been an attempt, an effort that has been futile to change curriculum many times to try and accommodate or meet that need. We had the curriculum that some of us went through, the 7 years of primary, the 4 years of secondary, the 2 years of advanced level, the 3 years of university, which was later changed to the 8 years, the 4 years, the 4 years, and now you're talking about the CBC. So all these have been efforts to bring in a kind of relevant education. But it seems to be like we haven't succeeded much, because one of the major reasons why we had many students not applying to join the university is because the education appears to be irrelevant. If a parent struggles to sell whatever they can or even to take loans, and a student goes to the university through the HELP loans, the Higher Education Loans Board, and then they graduate. But the degree they graduate in cannot offer them any job at all. And then what happens? They just go and do something totally different, unrelated, completely unrelated with what made their parents sell whatever they needed to sell, or the sacrifice. But whatever they do is not related. So, and the struggles of even finding what to do becomes so much of a problem to find. So the question has been to many of these young people who have watched their brothers toil. They saw the cow being sold for them to go to the university. They saw the sacrifices that were made, and then they see this person has completed school, has come home, is not working, and whoever is working is doing something completely unrelated. So they end up being like almost the same. Now this has made many of the young people feel, is it really necessary that even when the career choices are being made and the selection of the university courses, some high school students wonder, is it worth? And so they didn't even make any selection to go to the university, because the education seems like it is irrelevant. It doesn't lead to job, because that's why we have so many unemployed people. And then you study something totally related to what you are meant to do. In GOA, for example, in GOA we have children's homes where our children complete and they have the opportunity to go to college, to go to the university. And looking at those who have completed the higher education, very few of our children are actually doing things related to what they studied. Somebody went and studied early education, childhood. Today they are sweeping. Another person went to university, did all the CPAs and all the rest of the stuff to do with the accountings and all that. Today they are probably teaching English somewhere in a school. I mean, things that are completely unrelated. Others went and did catering. They have even ended up employing somebody to cook for them. They can't even cook for themselves. So this irrelevance in education is what is making our children not really want to go to the university. And it is the high time that the government and the educational stakeholders, including us in the church, begin to ask ourselves, how can we offer relevant education? GOA receives a lot of volunteers from Switzerland, lots of volunteers, and most of them are young people. But when they come here and we talk to them about the university education, they wonder. And one of the questions most of them ask is, must one go to the university? And that is actually one of the most difficult area for us as GOA to raise money for, to sponsor people in the university, because those that we would want them to give scholarship, educational scholarship for post-secondary, ask, is it a must? Because for them, they get connected to the job market, and they have a period of working and doing other kinds of things that are related to what they studied, a period that gives them an opportunity to choose and actually even decide what they want to do. But here, you come from high school, KCSE, the next thing is the university study. You are not exactly very sure. And sometimes, we have had students say, they admitted me to the university that I did not choose. They gave me a course that I did not choose. I've never imagined studying that particular course. Effort to change sometimes takes too long or becomes difficult. So, in actual fact, this student is pushed through the whole system to an area that they do not like. And this makes it very, very difficult for those who are following them behind to decide whether they really want to go to the university or not. And the kind of life that the university students talks about that they live in the university does not model anything that their younger siblings would want to emulate. University has been known to be the place where drug peddling goes on. It has been known to be the area for immoral sexual behaviors, including sometimes we've seen very embarrassing situations where stories of sex for a good grade, those are things that are in the open public, where the students have to compromise their integrity with some lecturers so that they can get a good grade. And those are things that the siblings and those who are in the high school are still looking at. So the stories that come out from these once highly coveted institutions of higher learning do not really model what those who follow or who desire to go there really would want to go there. Of course, the funding situation of the universities has also become a big discouragement for the KCSE students or candidates to even want to choose, because funding is a problem. We are always talking about low funding for the universities, sometimes even threatening that the higher education loan board is going to be abolished, and all those threats. The realities of the matter is that the effect of the low funding is felt by the students there, which even compromises the quality of their education. And the rest of them are really watching and wondering, is that the place that I really want to go? Gone are the days when everyone desired to go and study in the university. Everyone looked forward to it. And there were very few by then, but everyone wanted to go to the university. Not anymore. Based on what we have heard this week, a high percentage of students did not even select to go to the university. And in those days, I do remember, we did not pay for education in the university. In fact, we were being paid. Every month we were receiving some money. Like us, we were receiving 200 shillings every month. We were calling it boom. And everyone would tell that the day for boom has come, because we would all receive some stipends or some money that we were being given, so that when we were when we were studying. So now, today, it's no longer there. No boom, no money given students. You pay, and the most of the students, the result is that they go to higher loans board, and when they go there, they receive the loans. we have seen some of them coming from very poor families. They actually use that loan, part of that loan that they receive, to educate their children back at home, or to meet some of the very pressing needs at their home, including food. So this image of education, university education, is not very appealing to the children, or rather the students who are following. It's so different from what we used to have, and it might be worth considering for the government to either reinstate the same monthly stipends that we used to get, or boom, not just to attract the students to the university, but to make it easier and to create an environment for learning. Because some of the stories that we have heard from the students of how they struggle, some even go hungry, some even faint in the lecture halls, some resort to some kind of income generating methods that is not very healthy for them, or not even in harmony with the studies that they are making. Some even struggle to stay where they are accommodated. They stay so far away. They can only afford housing in places like Kibera, places like Mathare, Kangemi, places where the houses are cheap. So the result is that environment is not conducive for that student to study, because whatever goes on, some of the houses are made of cartons, sheets. You can tell what is going on in every room in each of that area. There might not even be electricity. So when it comes to the student to study, and then they walk, some walk to school or use bus, it is not really a conducive environment for learning. It would be helpful that as the government begins to talk about the affordable housing, that affordable housing is also included in the university education, so that we are able to get more of our students staying within the campus rather than staying outside where they have to struggle because they cannot afford the rents outside there. So affording the discussion about the affordable housing ought to include our higher learning institutions, because if the houses were built, affordable houses were built in the universities or even higher education institutions which are affordable, then it would even be easier to have mentors, because the lecturers and many other older students who are within the campus would easily find the time and the opportunity for mentorship, to mentor the upcoming ones, so that they don't fall into all the problems and the peer influence. Some of them come to the university with some little money, and others are waiting because they are poor. They lead them into all kinds of situations. So there is so much to address if we are going to bring back sanity into our university education. The Commission of University Education has a huge task to be able to bring back the picture, the taste that used to be there, so that we do not have a situation like we have seen recently, and all the conversations that we have had this week, of having more opportunities for university vacancies, more than actually the students who are interested. And the other major result has been because of the picture and how difficult it is to go through the educational system in the university. Many have opted to go to study outside the country. So, and that also contributes to the huge number of students who never even applied to go to the university, even if they qualified, because they know, and they have known that there are countries where if you you go to study there in the university, you can get an educational scholarship so easily, and most of those countries you can even work. You don't even need education. You can work outside the campus and pay for your own education. And in many other universities, you can get a work study where you work there for some hours, and then you don't pay for your education. So life becomes easier. When the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education Form 4 candidates listen and read stories of their brothers and their older siblings who went to other countries, and maybe they are the ones paying for them the school fees here, and they are students out there. It doesn't make sense for them to even choose a career, to go to the university in this country. We have closed the week with some hope. The government has come with proposals of how the funding is going to be distributed to the various groups, the vulnerable people, those who are needy, those who are most needy. That discussion is what brings us to the close of the week. It seems like there's some seriousness now, serious conversation into trying to address, but it also appears like it's only going to be addressing the question of the vulnerable or the orphans, in making the education possible for them, if the funding is distributed the way we have heard this week. But also, again, we will work with the assumption that the corruption will not be infiltrated into those policies, whereby what is meant to be for the orphans, it goes to people who have their parents, because the corruption always finds its way into good policies like that. And even though it was intended to make education affordable for those who cannot, then you end up realizing that it funds those who are able to pay, because they are well connected. So if we really want those policies to be helpful, we're going to deal with the question of corruption and the question of the whole process of the selection as to who qualifies for which scholarship, proper criteria of determining who is needy, who is vulnerable, who is an orphan. And if that is not done, then we will not solve the problem. We will only end up creating a bigger problem, where now more frustrations when the students know that there are some funds for orphans or for vulnerable people, but yet they can't access them. Because in this country, again, sometimes there are some good opportunities, but to access them becomes the most difficult thing. And a lot of education and creating awareness needs to be done so that students may also know what exactly exists into this nation. The government of Kenya should do whatever they can to reduce this brain drain, having all the good brains go study outside there because it's affordable. And we need those good brains too. If we can make the education affordable here, and people study within here, make it easy for everyone to be able to go through it, I think we would build our nation in the long run. But if we have all those good brains going out there because they can work and pay for education, we will be destroying the future of this nation. So this is a good conversation to continue. And for those who are into the charitable institutions like Glory Outreach Assembly, we would wish to be in the front line of the beneficiaries of those who really need funding for higher education, because education is one of the most sustainable ways of developing a society. Because if you create a bunch of illiterate people in a nation, it becomes very difficult to develop that nation. That is why in Glory Outreach Assembly we have undertaken to even take education to the marginalized people, like those villages of Akatman in Turkana, those villages of Naboropus, and not only for the children in Turkana, but also the adults. That's why we have created our churches to become classrooms to provide adult education, because adult literacy is important if we are going to develop this nation. I will never forget October 2004, when I first landed in one village called Akatman in Turkana, 85 kilometers from Rodwa. And all the men and women and the whole society community, within seconds, they had all come and sat down to listen, because they had seen the vehicle that we were using coming in. And I asked myself, how comes that there are so many and it's a school day? There was no school anywhere, no school at all in the community. And that's October 2004. And when I asked the elder there, how can we help? And how can we help you in this community? He said, if you can create, if you can bring to us school, like the one you have down there in Kenya, so that our children can also get education like the ones you're having down there in Kenya, because they never even believed they're in Kenya themselves, we'll be very happy. We built a church in a Katman village and opened it for children to start learning basic education, early childhood, and then the children filled up the place, children of all ages, because nobody had ever been to school. Then the parents started complaining that how comes you're educating our children and not us? We also want to learn. And so we ended up having the children come in the morning, the parents in the afternoon for adult literacy. Down the line, that has become a full primary school. And we really appreciate the whole era of the CDF, because we were able to build more classes during that time with the member of parliament who was there then. And eventually the school became a school that the government is taking care of together with Glory Outreach Assembly, and we decided to go to another village. So these are issues that need to be addressed, because we cannot just address the university education alone, but we are not addressing the accessibility of education from the children in such marginalized areas, because they are eventually the ones who land into those universities. So when we talk about not having enough students applying for university, we also need to go down there in the marginalized areas and begin the whole system and the whole chain of education, and also provide the adult literacy and create a framework. Now we have this new competence-based curriculum. How are we going to handle that part of the curriculum in the university? That's a big debate. How do we really have a curriculum that is competent-based in the higher education? Because we seem to have started from the bottom. Of course, the government is a bottom-up government, so probably having started from the bottom, we will eventually look at the curriculum for the university education and see how it fits. We are still struggling, even with the teachers themselves, to feel that they are comfortable and well prepared to handle. So these are the conversations for the week. But we have hope. We have hope that especially those of us who represent the church and speak for the church, and we are also into providing education through through our church institutions, we strongly believe it's worth investing in education. University education, the whole system is worth investing in. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining this conversation. We would be glad to get your comments on how we can make our education better and how we can take it back to the days that we went to school ourselves, where everybody longed to go to the university. Those days where we got booms, those days when we never paid. We really would want to get back to that point. God bless you. Thank you.